Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to each of the witnesses. Mr. Kent, you have been outspoken throughout your career speaking against corruption. And I want to talk about corruption. I want to talk in particular about corruption in the current administration. And I have serious concerns about corruption of President Joe Biden that extends for considerable time, both his time as president and his time as vice president. To take one obvious and troubling example, accounts linked to the Biden family's personal finances received millions of dollars through ties to CEFC China Energy. This is where we get the infamous quote about 10% to the big guy from the Chinese communists. But you've also been involved very directly with Ukraine and corruption in Ukraine, and I will say you showed real courage speaking out against what I think was the very obvious concerns of corruption of Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden in Ukraine in particular. On November 13th, 2019, you testified to Congress that you had become concerned with Hunter Biden's status as a board member of the Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma. You said you had raised those concerns to the White House in February of 2015. And in particular, what you said is, I became aware that Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. Soon after that, in a briefing call with the National Security Staff of the Office of the Vice President in February of 2015, I raised my concern that Hunter Biden's status as a board member could create a perception of a conflict of interest. Tell me, why did you have this concern about, as you described, a perception of a conflict of interest?
Well, Senator, I can give you and every member of this committee my commitment that I will always raise concerns to members of any administration and to Congress when I have concerns. And so I was made aware of information, and I passed that along to the staff of the Office of the Vice President.
And so why were you concerned? Why were you concerned about Hunter Biden being on the board of Burisma?
The issue at hand was the owner of the company, Zlochevsky, had awarded himself gas contracts. And as I testified both in the impeachment hearings and in the Johnson-Grassley hearings of 2020, our concern was about the corrupt acts of Zlochevsky, the ex-minister, and the FBI had been pursuing freezing his assets. And it was in the interest of the United States to remain at the gold standard of our own actions.
So the Ukrainian oligarch who owned Burisma, there was very substantial evidence of corruption on his part, and he named Hunter Biden to his board of directors. To your knowledge, does Hunter Biden speak Ukrainian?
I've never talked to Hunter Biden, no.
To your knowledge, did he have any knowledge before serving on that board about anything concerning oil or natural gas?
I'm not aware of his CV.
To your knowledge, did Hunter Biden have any qualification whatsoever for that board job other than the fact that his daddy was the sitting vice president at the time?
Senator, no one consulted me about who was on the board of Burisma. There was another American, Kofor Black, who was a former...
Okay, I asked a question. To your knowledge, did Hunter Biden have any qualification to be on that board other than the job his daddy had at the moment?
I am not familiar with his resume, sir.
Okay. He was paid $83,000 a month by this Ukrainian oligarch. You're an expert in Ukraine. Have you ever been paid $83,000 a month?
I'm a public servant, sir. I've never served on a corporate board.
So does that mean no, you haven't been paid $83,000 a month?
I have not been paid $83,000 a month, no, sir.
So, look, the concern here is not Hunter Biden's own problems, but rather it is official corruption from the then Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, and now the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Let me ask you, while his son was on the board of Burisma making $1 million a year, did Joe Biden do anything that benefited the corrupt oligarch who was paying his son?
Vice President Biden led our efforts to fight corruption in Ukraine.
Let me ask you the question again. Did Vice President Joe Biden do anything that benefited the corrupt oligarch who was paying his son $1 million a year?
He did not.
He did not. Well, it's interesting. Someone who disagrees with you, Mr. Kent, is Joe Biden. And I want to read from what he said on January 23rd, 2018 at the Council of Foreign Relations. Quote, this is Joe Biden speaking. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kiev. And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I'd gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma. And they didn't. So Biden continues. I said, no, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was about 6 hours. I looked at them and said, I'm leaving here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch, he got fired. Let me ask you something. Do you think Joe Biden holding $1 billion hostage to force the Ukrainian government to fire the prosecutor that is investigating the corrupt oligarch who's paying his son $1 million a year, did getting that prosecutor fired benefit that oligarch?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Van
Are you going to allow him to answer the question, Madam Chairman?
I am not going to allow him to answer the question.
Why are you covering for the Vice President? Do you not want him to answer that question? He said that the Vice President did nothing to benefit the oligarch.
I think it's unfortunate for you, Senator Cruz, to put in position that are uncomfortable the nominees to be our ambassadors.
Okay, this is his sworn testimony. This is his sworn testimony. I understand that you want to cover for the Vice President.
That he is going to raise those concerns anytime.
Was his testimony true or false that Biden did nothing to benefit the oligarch?
I don't know.
Let him answer the question. Why are you afraid of him answering the question?
I'm not. I just want to move on because
But you won't let him answer. I asked a yes-no question. Will you allow him to answer the yes-no question?
Yes, you can answer yes or no. Thank you.
The prosecutor who was fired by the Ukrainian parliament did nothing to investigate Zlochevsky, and everything that Vice President Biden, the State Department, and the U.S. Embassy did acted in good faith to reduce corruption and help the Ukrainian people.
So firing him did not benefit the oligarch.
Thank you, Senator Cruz.